I stare at my phone screen, reading the message again as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less painful. They don't. This year it's just Melissa's family. Hope you understand. The crisp November sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Boston condo, catching on the crystal vase I splurged on last week. Outside, sailboats dot the harbor, their white sails bright against the deep water. Everything in this space I've created speaks of success. The minimalist furniture in soft whites and grays, the original artwork, the uncluttered surfaces. Nothing betrays the hollow feeling spreading through my chest. My thumb hovers over the screen. A dozen responses form and dissolve in my mind. Questions, accusations, pleas. In the end, I type a single word. Enjoy. I set the phone down carefully on the marble countertop, then press my palms flat against the cool surface. My reflection in the polished granite shows a woman composed, successful, unfazed. Only the slight tremble in my hands reveals the truth. Just yesterday, I was standing in Williams-Sonoma, selecting personalized stockings for my nieces and nephews. A cashmere throw for Grandma Margaret. A special bottle of scotch for Uncle Robert. Even a hand-carved cheese board for Aunt Linda and Uncle Jim, my parents, despite our strained relationship. Grandma Margaret had called last week, her voice warm with affection. "You're still coming for Thanksgiving at your parents', right? I can't wait to see you, sweetheart." "Wouldn't miss it," I'd told her, smiling as I stirred the cranberry chutney I'd been perfecting from her recipe. 3 test batches later, it was finally right, tart but sweet, with just enough spice. Perfect for the family dinner table. The phone rings, jarring me from the memory. Cousin Derek's name flashes on the screen. "Brianna? Have you heard?" His voice holds the same stunned disbelief I'm feeling. "About Thanksgiving? Just got the text." "It's not just you," Derek says, his voice tight. "They've cut out almost everyone except Melissa's crew. 18 people, Brie. 18 family members suddenly uninvited." My fingers tighten around the phone. "What? Why would they?" "Aunt Linda and Uncle Jim only want Melissa's perfect family at their perfect table," Derek spits out. "God forbid they include the rest of us commoners." I close my eyes. This isn't just about this year. It's about a lifetime of being the second choice, the afterthought. Christmas gifts that were practical while Melissa's were extravagant. Parent-teacher conferences they were too busy to attend while they rearranged schedules for Melissa's volleyball games. The pattern so familiar I stopped noticing its sting years ago. "You there?" Derek asks. "Yeah, just processing. We're thinking about getting together at Grandma's instead, but her place is too small for everyone." I move to the window, watching the late autumn light play across the water. For a moment, I see myself as others might, successful, independent, unaffected by family drama. The hurt girl inside me wants to retreat, lick her wounds in private, pretend it doesn't matter. But something shifts inside me as I stand there. The sunlight catches on the harbor water, momentarily blinding me with its brilliance. When my vision clears, my reflection in the glass shows something different, a straightening of my shoulders, a lifting of my chin. The hurt remains, but beside it grows something stronger. I reach for my phone again, scrolling through contacts until I find the number I need. "Chef Martin? It's Brianna Campbell." I pause, my voice growing firmer with each word. "I'd like to host Thanksgiving dinner for 32 people at my New Hampshire estate." There's surprise in his voice when he responds, but also respect. "That's quite an undertaking on short notice, Miss Campbell." "I'm aware." My gaze drifts back to the text message still open on my screen. "But I believe it's time for a new tradition, one where everyone has a place." As I hang up, I feel a strange calm settle over me. They've made their choice, cutting me from their table without a second thought. Now I'm making mine. And I suspect they'll regret theirs sooner than they think. Later that day, the Boston skyline glitters against the darkening November sky as I unlock the climate-controlled storage unit. Inside waits a decade of memories I've kept at arm's length, preserved but untouched, like artifacts from another life. I pull the string on the overhead light. The fluorescent bulb flickers twice before steadying, casting harsh shadows across cardboard boxes labeled in my precise handwriting: high school, college, family photos. My fingers hover over the last box. Something inside me wants to turn around, go back to my condo, pretend the text message never happened. But another part, the part that made the call to Chef Martin, pushes me forward. The cardboard flaps open with a soft whisper of dust. The first album lies on top, its leather cover cracked with age. I settle onto the concrete floor, crossing my legs like I did as a child, and begin turning pages. Every photo tells the same story. Melissa centered in the frame, beaming. My parents positioned protectively around her, and me always slightly offset, as if the photographer couldn't quite fit me properly into the family portrait. In some, I'm partially cropped out, my shoulder or part of my face missing from the shot. You moved right when I clicked. My mother would always explain when I'd point it out. After a while, I stopped mentioning it. I turned to the Christmas morning series from 1995. Melissa unwrapping the deluxe art set she'd been coveting, her face illuminated with joy. 2 pages later, a single photo of me holding up a practical winter coat, my smile tight and practiced. I remember that morning with perfect clarity, how I'd hoped for the telescope I'd circled in catalogs for months, how I'd pretended the disappointment didn't cut. Deeper in the box, I find my MIT acceptance letter, still in its original envelope. The paper is crumpled, smoothed flat again afterward. The memory rushes back, running into the kitchen, letter clutched in my hand, interrupting my father's morning coffee. I got in, I'd announced, unable to contain my excitement. Full admission to MIT computer science program. My father had glanced up, then returned to his newspaper. Computer science? What kind of real career is that for a girl? My mother had squeezed my shoulder. We just worry about you, honey. Melissa's teaching degree will always be practical. I traced my finger over the MIT emblem, remembering how I'd folded the letter back into its envelope that morning, tucked it into my pocket, and walked to the park alone to cry where they couldn't see. Next comes a stack of pay stubs from the 3 jobs I worked through college campus: cafeteria mornings, library afternoons, coding freelance into the night. My parents had refused to help with tuition, claiming they couldn't afford it. Yet 6 months later, they refinanced their house to pay for Melissa's extravagant wedding. I found out when my father mentioned the new mortgage payment during a rare Sunday dinner call, worth every penny. He'd said proudly, "Every father dreams of giving his daughter her perfect day." I was their daughter too. The thought still burns, even now. A wrinkled bank loan application emerges from between faded notebooks, my sophomore year desperate attempt to secure financing when scholarship funds fell short. The loan officer had been apologetic. "Without a co-signer with stronger credit, I just can't approve this amount." When I'd asked my parents, my mother had clicked her tongue against her teeth. "Borrowing money is irresponsible, Brianna. Maybe you should take a semester off, work more hours." I never took a semester off. I just worked until exhaustion became my normal state. My phone buzzes with an incoming call. Grandma Margaret's name lights up the screen. "I just heard," she says when I answer, her voice tight with anger. "Linda told me they're keeping Thanksgiving small this year. What she didn't say was that they're cutting out half the family to do it." "It's fine," I say automatically, the response worn smooth through years of use. "It is not fine," Grandma Margaret snaps. "I know what they did. It's been happening your whole life. I should have said something years ago." Her words hit like physical pressure against my chest, validation I never expected. "I'm hosting instead," I tell her, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "At the New Hampshire place. Everyone's invited. The house you bought last year? The one they never visited even though you invited them for Memorial Day?" "That's the one." There's a pause, then Grandma Margaret's voice softens. "I'll be there with bells on, sweetheart, and I'll make sure everyone knows you're the one who saved Thanksgiving." After we hang up, my phone pings with text messages. Derek has been rallying the troops, cousins, aunts, uncles, all responding with enthusiasm. My executive assistant Olivia has already arranged transportation for elderly relatives who can't drive the distance. Chef Martin has sent a proposed menu that honors our family traditions while elevating them to something special. I pack the memories away, sealing the box with more care than it probably deserves. Tomorrow I'll drive to New Hampshire to prepare the house. The next day, the winding driveway to my estate is lined with ancient maples, their branches now bare against the gray November sky. The colonial revival mansion appears around the final curve, white columns standing sentinel against weathered brick, windows gleaming like watchful eyes. $6.2 million. The number had barely registered when I signed the papers last year. Just another transaction, another investment. I never thought I'd actually use it as a home. Alan, the caretaker, meets me at the front door. His weathered face creases with a smile. "Good timing, Miss Campbell. Weather Service is predicting snow next week. I've checked the generator twice, just to be safe." Thank you, Alan. We'll have about 30 guests for Thanksgiving. If he's surprised, he doesn't show it. I'll make sure everything's in order. When will you need the rooms prepared? I'll handle the guest rooms personally, I tell him. Later, I stand in the first guest bedroom, smoothing fine cotton sheets across a 4-poster bed. For Grandma Margaret, the softest pillows I could find, and a small vase of dried lavender by the bedside, her favorite. For Uncle Robert and Aunt Sarah, matching quilts I'd commissioned from an artisan in Vermont. For the children, baskets of toys and books selected for each age group. I unwrap a small package, 32 personalized place cards for the dining table, each hand calligraphed. I run my finger over the raised ink of my own name, wondering where I would have been seated at my parents' table. Probably the far end, if I had been seated at all. Standing in the grand dining room with its 15-foot ceiling and wall of windows overlooking the property's pond, I imagine voices filling the space, laughter, conversation, the clatter of silverware against china. A question surfaces, unwanted. Am I doing this out of love or revenge? Both, probably. The thought should trouble me more than it does. I place my own card at the head of the table and step back, surveying the room. For a moment, I see it through my mother's eyes, the tasteful luxury, the understated wealth, the careful planning. Let them see what their second-best daughter has built. Let them wonder what else they missed while they were busy looking the other way. I glance at my phone for the 5th time in an hour. Mother's latest text glows accusingly on the screen. You're embarrassing the family with this spectacle. People are talking. The irony nearly makes me laugh. After excluding me from their table without a second thought, now they worry about appearances. I set my phone down next to the hand-carved place cards I've been labeling for each guest. Alan, the estate's caretaker, appears in the doorway of the dining room. His weathered face carries concern beneath his usual stoic expression. Miss Campbell, Weather Service is reporting a possible storm system moving in this afternoon. How severe? I ask, continuing to arrange the place settings. Enough to worry about. I've checked the generator twice, but with 30-some people here. He leaves the rest unsaid. I nod, making a mental note to have extra blankets placed in each room. Thank you, Alan. Let's hope it passes us by. When he leaves, I open my social media app against my better judgment. Melissa's latest post appears at the top of my feed. So blessed to celebrate with true family this year. The ones who matter most. Real Thanksgiving. Family first. The comments overflow with heart emojis from her in-laws and neighborhood friends. None mention the 18 family members suddenly deemed unworthy of inclusion. My voicemail icon blinks with an unheard message. Father's voice fills my ear, the familiar condescending tone that always made me feel small. Brianna, your mother and I think you're being dramatic. If you wanted to host your own dinner, you could have discussed it with us instead of 27. I delete the message before he can finish. The same father who forgot to attend my college graduation doesn't get to lecture me on family communication. Derek calls minutes later, voice tight. You should know they're calling everyone, trying to convince people not to come to your place, saying you're just showing off. Guy, are people canceling? I ask, sudden dread clutching at my throat. The opposite. Everyone's more determined than ever. Grandma Margaret told Aunt Linda to pound sand. The mental image of my 82-year-old grandmother using those exact words brings the first genuine smile to my face in days. I wander into my home office, fingers trailing along the polished mahogany desk. 5 years ago, this space was a tiny corner in my studio apartment, barely enough room for a laptop and a cup of coffee. I worked 16-hour days building CyberCore's security protocol, while everyone from venture capitalists to my own father told me I was wasting my time. The cybersecurity market is saturated, he'd said when I tried explaining my business model over Christmas dinner. You should get a real job before you end up bankrupt. He'd turned to Melissa then, proudly announcing her promotion to assistant manager at the department store where she'd worked part-time for 3 months. I remember the night everything changed. 3 years into building the company, surviving on ramen and determination, my phone rang at 2 a.m. A major client system had detected an intrusion attempt that would have cost them millions. My protocol had caught what every other security layer had missed. Within a week, we had 4 new contracts. Within a year, acquisition offers. The day I signed the final papers selling CyberCore for $420 million, I called my parents. Mother answered, talked about Melissa's twins for 15 minutes, then said she needed to go before I could share my news. Now I stand in a home worth more than everything they own combined, preparing to host the family they decided wasn't worth their time. The first flakes of snow begin to fall as the earliest guests arrive. Cousin Rachel and her husband pull up in their sensible sedan, 3 children tumbling out with shouts of excitement at the sight of the estate. Is this a castle? 7-year-old Emma asks, eyes wide with wonder. Just a very big house, I tell her, kneeling to her level despite my designer dress. More vehicles appear on the winding driveway as the snow thickens. Alan and his team help elderly relatives navigate the steps, while Chef Martin directs his assistants in final preparations. The house fills with voices, laughter, the scents of rosemary and sage. I'm arranging flowers in the entryway when a commotion at the door draws my attention. Grandma Margaret stands in the doorway, her silver hair dusted with snowflakes, cheeks flushed with cold, and something like defiance. Your mother thinks I'm in bed with a headache, she announces, handing her coat to Alan. I'd rather be here with people who know what family truly means. She cups my face in her soft, papery hands. They've been doing this to you since you were little, you know. I should have spoken up sooner. The simple acknowledgement nearly undoes me. All these years, I thought no one had noticed. Within an hour, the house overflows with life. Children race through hallways that have never known such joyful noise. Cousins appear with additional side dishes and decorations. Derek organizes a system for elderly relatives to rest between socializing. In the kitchen, Chef Martin orchestrates a feast that honors tradition while feeling special. The cranberry chutney I'd perfected sits alongside his elevated versions of family recipes. When I thank him for accommodating the last-minute event, he simply says, "Creating joy through food is why I left New York. This is what matters." The snow intensifies through the afternoon, transforming into a proper blizzard. Windows rattle with wind as we gather at the dining table, 32 chairs, each occupied. No one excluded, no one forgotten. Uncle Robert has just stood to offer a toast when the lights flicker once, twice, then plunge the room into darkness. Generator will kick in, Alan calls from somewhere in the darkness. But seconds stretch into a minute with no result. Instead of panic, something remarkable happens. Someone starts humming, "Amazing Grace." Another voice joins, then another. Cell phone flashlights illuminate faces around the table. Grandma Margaret's trembling soprano rises clear above the others. Derek and his teenage sons distribute candles from the emergency supply. In their dancing light, I see something I've spent my life searching for: genuine connection. Not the carefully curated family image my parents maintained, but something real, imperfect, and beautiful. When the generator finally sputters to life 20 minutes later, restoring light and heat, part of me wishes it hadn't. In that candle-lit darkness, we found what had been missing at my parents' perfectly lit table. Alan appears at my side. Storms knocked out power across the county. Reports say your parents' neighborhood will be without electricity for at least 8 hours. Are they okay? The question comes automatically, despite everything. Generator at their house is working, from what I hear, he says. But I thought you should know they've got just the 7 of them in that big house, while we've got 32 people warm and fed. As I look around at the faces of those my parents deemed unworthy of their table, I realize something profound. They thought excluding me was taking something away. Instead, they gave me the final push I needed to create something better than what they offered. The lights illuminate my family chosen, and blood filling my home with more warmth than any generator could provide. The next day, my phone buzzes with notifications as I refill Grandma Margaret's coffee. Winter sunshine floods through the estate's eastern windows, casting long rectangles of light across the living room where several relatives linger over breakfast pastries. The blizzard has passed, leaving behind a pristine white landscape that sparkles under the morning sunday. "Someone's popular today," Grandma Margaret says, her eyes twinkling over her mug. I glance at my phone, surprised to see dozens of social media alerts. At the top, a notification from my nephew Tyler, at Brianna Campbell. "Look what an amazing Thanksgiving we had." When I open it, my breath catches. Tyler has posted a series of photos from yesterday, the magnificent feast spanning the length of my dining room table, candles glowing as family members raise glasses in toast, cousins laughing by the fireplace when the power went out. The estate looks magical, captured in the evening snow with every window glowing with warmth against the darkness. "Did you see what Tyler posted?" Cousin Rachel asks, coming downstairs with her phone. It's going viral in our hometown circles. I scroll through more posts. Cousin Derek shared a video of everyone singing by the fireplace, voices blending in harmony while snow fell outside. Aunt Elaine uploaded a stunning shot of the dessert table with Chef Martin's apple cranberry tart taking center stage. In almost every photo, the joy is palpable, but I notice something else. You're barely in any of these, Rachel observes, looking over my shoulder. I nod. I didn't need to be. The gathering speaks for itself. My phone rings. Rachel's eyebrows lift as she glimpses the screen. Melissa's husband, she whispers before discreetly stepping away. Hello, Robert, I answer, moving toward the kitchen. Brianna, his voice sounds strained. I just wanted to say yesterday looked nice. It was, I reply, simply. He clears his throat. I, accidentally tagged your parents in a comment on Tyler's post. Melissa's pretty upset. Understanding dawns. I see. Your mom called this morning. 5 times. He pauses. People are asking questions. After we hang up, I return to my social media feed. The situation becomes immediately clear. Robert's innocent comment. Looks amazing. Wish we could have been there too. Tagged my parents, allowing their friends to discover the other Thanksgiving they knew nothing about. Within hours, the posts have spread beyond family. My parents' neighbors have commented with surprise. Church members are asking pointed questions. What makes it worse for them is the unavoidable visual comparison. Someone created a split-screen image. My vibrant feast with 32 people versus what appears to be my parents' half-empty table of 7 people, including Melissa's family. The contrast couldn't be more stark, which gathering truly represented family. Your mother called me, Grandma Margaret says, joining me by the window. She's quite upset. What did you tell her? Grandma Margaret's smile holds decades of restrained opinions finally finding voice. I told her it was the first time the family felt whole in years. My phone continues buzzing with notifications. Uncle Robert posted about the best Thanksgiving in memory. Cousins tag each other with messages of gratitude. Chef Martin shared professional photos of his creation, tagging my company with high praise for the hostess. Then someone innocently comments on the original post. Why weren't Brianna's parents there? Seems strange they'd miss such an amazing family gathering. The question hangs in digital space, unanswered. By noon, my parents start calling. I let it go to voicemail 3 times before finally answering. How could you do this to us? My mother's voice quivers with anger rather than remorse. Do what exactly? I keep my tone neutral, watching snowflakes begin to fall again outside. Throw some extravagant party just to make us look bad. You're just showing off your money. The accusation would have stung a year ago. Now, I simply observe the feeling pass through me without taking hold. I only set another table because you told me I wasn't invited to yours. You know that wasn't. She stops abruptly as my father's voice rumbles in the background. Put him on speaker, I suggest. There's a fumbling sound, then my father's voice. Brianna, this has gotten out of hand. Maybe we should discuss this in person. We can discuss whatever you'd like, I reply. But first, I want to clarify something. 2 months ago, at Melissa's birthday dinner, I mentioned selling my company. No one asked a single question. No one seemed to hear me at all. Silence stretches between us. I sold Cybercore for $420 million, Dad. But when I mentioned it, no one listened. I hear his sharp intake of breath, then stammering. I didn't realize. I know, I say quietly. You never have. As I end the call, Derek appears with a fresh pot of coffee. Everything okay? I look around at the remaining family members in my home, people who chose to stay an extra day, who helped clean up without being asked, who treated my home with respect, and me with genuine interest. Actually, I say with unexpected lightness, I think it finally is. For the first time in my life, I don't need my parents' table. I've built something better. The doorbell's unexpected chime cuts through my Sunday morning quiet. I glance at my phone, no texts, no calls announcing visitors. My stomach tightens as I approach the peephole. Mother and father stand in the hallway, mother clutching a worn leather photo album to her chest like a shield. I consider pretending I'm not home, but that's the old Brianna. The woman who sold her tech company for hundreds of millions doesn't hide anymore. I open the door and stand firmly in the threshold. This is a surprise. We were in the neighborhood, father says, his voice unnaturally bright. Thought we'd stop by. Mother holds up the album. Found some old photos I thought you might like to see. The practiced casualness in their voices tells me this visit was planned, calculated. 3 days after they discovered the extent of my wealth through social media, they appear on my doorstep. The timing isn't subtle. I step back, allowing them entry. Come in. They enter my space cautiously, eyes widening at the floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Boston Harbor. Mother runs her finger along my marble countertop while father examines the original Rothko on my dining room wall. Quite a place you have here, he says. I don't respond to the fishing comment. Instead, I gesture toward the living room. Would you like to sit down? They perch on my white sofa, suddenly looking small against the backdrop of my success. Mother opens the photo album on the coffee table. Remember this birthday? You were turning 8. She points to a photo where little Melissa stands center frame blowing out candles on a cake while I hover at the edge, my face half cropped from the image. I remember, I say quietly. That was the year you forgot to get me a cake for my birthday 3 months later. Grandma Margaret made cupcakes instead. Mother's smile falters. That's not. It is, I interrupt, my voice steady. I have the journal entries. I walk to my office and return with a storage box. The label reads simply, evidence. I've been collecting it for years, not for this confrontation, but for my own sanity, to confirm I wasn't imagining the pattern. What's all this? Father asks, his forehead creasing. Documentation. I sit across from them and begin removing items methodically. My MIT acceptance letter. I place the crumpled paper on the table. You never came to the ceremony. Melissa's volleyball tournament was that weekend. Mother shifts uncomfortably. That was important to her career. My bank statements from college. I set down a folder. 3 jobs to cover tuition after you refused to co-sign my student loans. We couldn't afford to take on more debt then, Father protests. The same year you refinanced the house for Melissa's wedding. I keep my voice factual, not accusatory. The therapist I've been seeing for 4 years taught me that. Their eyes dart to each other. A silent conversation I've witnessed my entire life. The quick assessment of what story to tell, what excuse to offer. Brianna. Father leans forward, hands clasped. We should start fresh. The past is the past. We're family, Mother adds, reaching for my hand. I don't extend mine. Father clears his throat. Actually, we've been talking. We know you've done well for yourself now. His voice drops to what he probably thinks is a confidential tone. If you ever need any financial advice, I have a friend who specializes in high net worth individuals. There it is. The real reason for their visit. I have a team of financial advisors, but thank you. I fold my hands in my lap. I don't need your approval anymore, but I do require your respect. Mother's face flushes. We've always respected you. I pull out a small journal with a faded unicorn cover. August 12th, 1998. Mom said my science fair project was showing off. Melissa got a new dress for looking pretty at picture day. I flip pages. November 30th, 2001. Dad laughed when I said I wanted to learn programming. Said computers are for boys who can't play sports. The silence that follows feels weighted with 3 decades of small cruelties. My phone rings, startling all of us. Melissa's name flashes on the screen. The timing is so perfect it almost seems staged, though I know it isn't. It's your sister, I say, answering and putting it on speaker without warning. Hi, Melissa. I'm with Mom and Dad right now. A pause. Oh, they're there? Her voice sounds strange, hesitant. They brought photo albums. I keep my tone neutral. Brianna, Melissa says suddenly. I need to tell you something. I've been thinking since Thanksgiving. She takes an audible breath. I've always been jealous. You're smarter, braver, freer. Being the perfect daughter was just how I hid my fear of losing. Mother's gasp is sharp, her hand covering her mouth. What are you talking about? Father demands, leaning toward the phone. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Melissa says, her voice gaining strength. You've pitted us against each other our whole lives. I got attention for being compliant. Brianna got punishment for being exceptional. The doorbell rings again. This time, I know who it is before opening the door. Grandma Margaret stands in the hallway, her silver hair swept into its usual neat bun, her eyes clear with purpose. I followed them, she says without preamble, walking past me. She stops when she sees my parents on the sofa, the evidence box between them. Good. You're finally having this conversation. Mother, this isn't your concern. My mother starts. I've watched this happen for decades and I won't be silent anymore. Grandma's voice carries the quiet authority of someone who has chosen her moment carefully. Every time Brianna achieved something extraordinary, you found a way to diminish it. Every time she needed support, you were conspicuously absent. Consider. We gave both our daughters everything, Father protests, standing. No, 3 voices say in unison, mine, Grandma's, and Melissa's over the phone. I watch as something finally breaks in my mother's carefully maintained facade. Her shoulders slump, and tears, not the manipulative ones I've seen before when she wanted something, but real tears slide down her cheeks. I didn't realize. She whispers. I didn't see. It's not an apology, not yet. But it's the first crack in a wall that stood between us my entire life. I don't rush to comfort her. That girl is gone. Instead, I sit tall, surrounded by my chosen support system. Grandma physically present, Melissa surprisingly allied from afar. Now you do, I say simply. So, what happens next is your choice. Snow drifts against the windows of my New Hampshire estate, transforming the landscape into a winter wonderland. Christmas lights twinkle along the eaves, reflecting off the pristine white blanket covering the 40 acres. Inside, fires crackle in 3 different hearths, while the scent of pine and cinnamon fills the air. A month has passed since Thanksgiving, a month of cautious text messages, tentative phone calls, and one tearful coffee with my sister. Now I watch through the bay window as 2 cars pull into the circular drive. My parents emerge from one, their movements hesitant. Melissa's family spills from the other, her husband Tom, wrangling their 3 children as they dash toward the front door. My fingers tighten around my coffee mug. They're here. When the doorbell chimes, I open it myself rather than letting Alan handle it. My mother stands with a foil-covered dish, her eyes widening as she takes in the grand foyer with its soaring ceiling and magnificent spiral staircase. Welcome, I say, stepping back to let them in. The children barrel past, squealing at the 15-foot Christmas tree, dominating the great room. We brought sweet potato casserole. Mom offers the dish like a peace offering. I take it with a smile that feels only slightly forced. Perfect. The kitchen's this way. Conversation starts awkwardly but gradually thaws as everyone settles in. The children's laughter echoes through rooms that once stood silent, filling uncomfortable pauses with their innocent joy. Later, I find myself alone in the kitchen with Mom, unpacking serving dishes. Without asking, she rolls up her sleeves and begins arranging appetizers on platters, working alongside me, rather than directing my every move. Your home is beautiful, she says quietly. I never really understood what you built for yourself. I glance up, meeting her eyes. Thank you for coming. In the dining room, Chef Martin has outdone himself. The long mahogany table stretches beneath crystal chandeliers, each place setting personalized. No one sits at the head, the circular arrangement ensures everyone occupies equal space. Dad pauses before taking his seat, surveying the gathered family. Before we eat, I'd like to say something. He clears his throat. To learning from our mistakes. Glasses rise amid murmured agreement. When I look up, I find Mom's hand resting lightly on my shoulder, a touch so tentative it might float away. After dinner, Melissa finds me by the Christmas tree, its lights casting colorful shadows across our faces. Thank you, she whispers, for giving the kids their whole family. My phone buzzes with a text from Derek. Proud of you for giving them a second chance. I smile, glancing around the room. Chef Martin chats with my uncles while Alan, no longer just the caretaker but part of our circle, helps Grandma Margaret with her dessert plate. Even the staff I'd insisted join us rather than work alone on Christmas mingle comfortably with relatives. When glasses are raised for one final toast, Mom stands. Her voice wavers but grows stronger with each word. To new beginnings and to our extraordinary daughter. Later, as snow falls softly outside, I stand in the doorway watching my now complete family. Children doze on laps, adults share stories, and laughter ripples through the room. The truth settles in my heart like a warm ember. Family isn't just blood, it's the people who truly value you. Being excluded from their table allowed me to create my own where everyone is respected. Next Thanksgiving, I'll make it even larger. Everyone deserves a place.